Hello, it has been a long time, but I'm back with Operation Theseus. So, I had played through the scenario 2, even though I was kind of like, I don't know, but I played through it a couple weeks, 3 weeks ago now, I think. Oof, it's been a while. I've reset everything up to do the full campaign for this video series playthrough. I am still committing to it. It's just been very busy these last weeks. But let's go over what the kind of board setup looks like and all the objectives. All right, so we have, first thing I want to kind of introduce here is the activation board, which is now going to be in full effect for this campaign game. So we have all the different formations and all their activations at the start. AP trackers, all that, airplane trackers, or whatever, air support tracker, I guess probably be more accurate to say. Over here, I also have the assignment box for the 88s. Don't worry about the bandages on my fingers. And all that jazz, some extra markers I have off to the side, the rest is all on the other side. Let's go with the actual situation. So, the Axis has several objectives to take. There's some of the very basic ones, such as Bir Hashim. Can never remember if there's an L in the Hashim or something, like Halshim or something. Anyway, Bir Hashim is potentially one they can take. It's not worth much, but it is worth something. But most importantly, it's on this road. That's going to be quite important for supply and communications issues. The next up here, we have Knightsbridge, which is an important, potentially very important hex to take. I should also want to note here, there are various levels of victory points depending on like what turn it's taken. So for example, this initial one, it's worth 32 victory points if it's taken between turns 1 and 3, and then it'll kind of go down depending as things change. Same for El Adim over here, 21 at the start. Tobruk is of course worth a lot up in the top, the Fortress of Tobruk. And then there's another one here up at Gazala. Sorry, the angle on this is a little wonky on the tripod, but Gazala. And here, Acroma, excuse me. Acroma is also worth a good chunk of points. So there's a fair amount going on here that the Axis is up for grabs. So the main obstacle is, of course, the chain belt of minefields, and some areas are also fortified, like for instance around here, around Bir Hashim. These are fortified. There is also a secondary kind of layer, smaller layer of minefields. A partially completed minefield layer up here, and then another one going around Tobruk. And these are kind of the main obstacles that they'll have to get across, as well, dealing with all of, course, the actual Commonwealth troops that are trying to protect it. So what do they have to deal with it? Well, that's an excellent question here. We'll start from the top and kind of go up. So we have up into the northwest specifically. Up here, and it's okay. Well, that angle on the tripod did not work as well as I was hoping. Sorry, let me get this in a slightly different position here. Okay. So up here we have the Italians, predominantly Italians, with there's some German formations up here to kind of help out, stiffen the line a little bit, but for the most part, it is Italian troops kind of going around this line, and small numbers of them. Their main role is going to be to breach the minefield along the roads if they can, but more importantly, just to kind of occupy these Commonwealth troops. Potentially, as Commonwealth troops move down to the main, to try to counter the main Axis effort, these areas will be a little more potential, like breachable for the Italians. There's also the Pavia division can harass the concentration of Commonwealth forces over here near 50th New Zealand. Or excuse me, it's not New Zealand, they're South African, not New Zealand troops. And then over here we have the 1st Armored Division. It's kind of holding Knight's Bridge and the central area of the desert. Scattered around, strong forces here to potentially plug any gaps or breaches made by the Italians. It's unlikely they'll get that far, but they're going to have a bigger issue to worry about here as we go down to where the main Axis effort is, which is the Artieta, whatever you say it, Artieta Italian Division, which has some armored units and recon units for recon right outside Hiroshima, along with the 27th Panzer, 21st Panzer, the 90th, whatever they're called, I'm terrible at these things, 90th Leitich, I don't know how you say that, and the 15th Panzer as well. And this is really the main force for the Axis. They are going to try to breach this southern area. They don't actually have to attack them if they don't move next to the Free French forces here. The Free French don't ever activate, but it's just controlling this road is too important. It's not required, it's a necessity, if you put it that way. And then over on this side, we have the 7th Armored Division ready to move to try to seal this area up. But frankly, unless there's some insane chit drawings and rolls, they really don't have enough to actually stop this attack. And the Axis, if they can breach this first layer, these panzers have this nice open area to kind of deal with everything, and they're going to have a serious advantage just because of the way the Axis rules work, how they can concentrate their forces. They can just apply so much force into isolated or just individual Commonwealth units. They can really do a lot of damage. So that's going to be a serious problem if they can get out to here. The Commonwealth have a potential kind of second layer they can do because of this extra minefield in the ridges, the wadis. They can kind of make a secondary line to defend Tobruk if necessary, but that still is going to require being able to maneuver up there and get there ahead of time, like before too much damage has been sustained in the fighting down here with the Axis. So it's a tricky situation. There's a few reinforcements that come in for both sides, not very many, but just a few units. Also, the South African units up here don't activate until turn 3, or if an Axis unit comes close. Same for some of these other independent units. Tobruk, you have to move next to them. Yeah, so that's kind of the main situation here, and I'm going to kind of go through it blow by blow, because individual turns can take a while because there's a lot of activations, but as interesting things unfold, I will highlight those in each turn video, so you kind of get little glimpses as the turns go by, rather than just beginning to end, unless something, maybe towards the end, if things are truly accelerated, then maybe you'll get less, but so that's the general situation here. That's going to be the Axis plan, is to try to breach these minefields, come up and slice through to cut off as much of the Commonwealth forces they can and hit up into Tobruk, while pinning as much as they can here into place, trying to shave off the Commonwealth armored strength as much as possible. Commonwealth going to try to stop them, see if they can outmaneuver, see if they can get behind the Axis lines of communication, lines of supply, try to disrupt them. Oh, I should say there is a negative victory point factor, which is the if any of the kind of supply entrance hexes fall to Commonwealth forces, then the Axis will take a penalty to their victory points. But that's kind of the overview. It's just going to be a lot of hard fighting from here on out, so sorry to keep you all waiting, but we're going to get started with this, and yeah, it should be fun.